summary of Srimad Bhagavatam in 1 hour. And we also have heard from Padma Purana how Bhagavatam is Lord Krishna himself. And we have heard about first canto, second canto, third canto, fourth canto, fifth canto, and now we are brought to the sixth canto. So in sixth canto, what does sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam have? The overview of what sixth canto is. Sixth canto is about Poshana. Poshana is nourishment. Atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam utaya. Manvantara ishanu katha nirodho nirashraya. These are the 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam, starting from Sarga. So, until now, we have heard about Sarga, Visarga, Atra Sargo, Visargascha, Sthanam, Poshan. So, we have heard about Sarga, Visarga, and Sthanam. Now, we are hearing about Poshanam. What does that mean? Sarga is the primary creation of all the material ingredients, elements by Lord Mahavishnu until the appearance of Lord Brahma. That is Sarga. And the creation that happens after Lord Brahma appears, that is called Visarga. If you remember, first canto, second canto, that talks about Sarga. And when Brahma appears, remember in the third canto, when the Brahma appears, then from Brahma comes Uttanapada, Swayambhu Manu, like that, right? When Brahma appears on the lotus flower, he offers the prayers and he starts the creation. From then on, it is Visarga. And from Brahma comes the 4 Kumaras and Narada Muni, and then Rudra, like that. So, and after that, the 10 sages from his body. And after that, the Swayambhu Manu and his counterpart, Shatarupa. Yeah? Swayambhu Manu, Shatarupa. Swayambhu Manu's sons, Uttanapada and Priyavrata. See how the creation is continuing after Brahma has appeared? All that is called Visarga from there. So, Visarga is continuation of the creation, starting from the appearance of Brahma. That has started in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yep. So that is how we have heard the dynasties of, Swayambhu Manu's three daughters, Devahuti, Kapila Muni. That we have heard in the third canto, right? Devahuti, Kapila Muni. So that is how the dynasty of Swayambhu Manu is being explained. So Visarga is continuing like that. And after that, after the dynasty, the Swayambhu Manu, then Devahuti, Akuti, Prasuti, we have heard all that during the Daksha Yajna, like that. Right? Daksha Yajna is the daughter of Daksha is Sati. Right? So like that, the 3 daughters of Swayambhu Manu. And then the son of Swayambhu Manu is Uttanapada. Uttanapada's son is Dhruva. Dhruva's son, as we continue, Dhruva and the whole lineage, Priyavrata, and then we have continued Priyavrata, and then Pritumaraj, Prachetas, all of them are Uttanapadas, right? We have heard all that. So that is all continuation of the creation. So that's all Visarga. And in this Visarga, when these kings are, when these dynasties are explained, then there is interaction that is happening between the devotees, Bhagavatas and Bhagavan, right? So in that way, Ishanukata is also there, little bit here and there. Wherever the Lord is appearing and talking to the devotees, that is also Ishanukata. So in this way, Sarga, Visarga is continuing. And in the previous canto, 5th canto, we have heard the dynasty of Priyavrata. Priyavrata, Rishabhadeva, Bharata Maharaj, like that. So after that, in the later half of the 5th canto, we have heard about the Brahmanda, structure of the universe, right? That is Sthanam. Sthanam is situation. All these living entities that are being created. We will hear more how Daksha has thousands of daughters, and from them comes different kinds of species. Avians, reptiles, like that. 8,400,000 species, right? So 8,400,000 are different kind of species of humans. So rest of that 8 million species, how they come through the daughters of Daksha, that also is present in the 6th canto, a little bit of it. So if you look at this whole thing, you see how Visarga is continuing. Yeah. So atra sargo visargascha sthanam. Sthanam is in the 5th canto, 2nd half, where the whole Brahmanda is explained, 14 planetary systems are explained. That is sthanam. How these 14 planetary systems are present, and the jivas are present in each planetary system like that. That is sthanam. And next is sthanam poshana. So this is poshana. This is how 6th canto is about poshana. Poshana means nourishment. Like mother nourishes the child, Bhagavan nourishes the bhaktas. And in the 6th canto, we will see how the Bhagavan is nourishing the bhaktas with his love, with his mercy. Especially even when the bhaktas, even when the devotees, when they commit a mistake accidentally and when they fall down, how Bhagavan is so merciful that he will continue to nourish. He will continue to nourish and to bring us back from the misery, from the modes and places, again close to him. So that will be the 6th canto. In that way is beautifully elaboration, a beautiful elaboration on the guna, poshana of Bhagavan. So in the 6th canto, who are explained here? Which devotees are explained here? Ajmila is explained here. We will see Ajmila is like, if we have to call a neophyte devotee, he is a little more subordinate to the neophyte devotee. To start with, he was a very good person of character, but later on, whatever happens. But even then, even how the Lord does poshana, nourishment, and rescues Jamila from going to hellish planets in the form of Harinam. That we will see here. That's the first part of the 6th canto. Ajmila Charita. Second one is Indra. Indra is a Sakama devotee. He does his best. But when the modes hit, Indra is also subjected to illusion, passion. Mistakes happen. So mistakes happen with Indra too. And what happened to Indra, and how did the Lord still continue to nourish him? That will be the second part of the 6th canto. Third part, Chitraketu. How Chitraketu was such an exalted devotee, but it is how interesting it is that aparadas can happen even without any intention. And when that happens, how Lord continues to do poshana. nourishes with his love and continues to safeguard the bhakti that Jiva carries. That is very important. Portion of the bhakti that Jiva has. That is shown in the charita of Vritrasura, Chitraketu. Chitraketu becomes Vritrasura. So Vritrasura Charita, great hero Vritrasura, so-called demon, but great hero. That's Vritrasura Charita. And after that, a little bit about Diti. How Diti wanted to kill Indra, but happened to do a vrata for Lord Vishnu. And that's how Diti is also saved from committing any more sins. So somehow or other, how the Lord tries to save us in spite of we committing the mistakes. How beautiful is that mercy that will never leave us. That's Poshana. That's the 6th canto. That's the overview. Now, coming to the connection between the 5th canto and 6th canto. In the 5th canto, if you recall, our very beloved Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami's conversation continued. So, Sukadeva Goswami, he explained about the hellish planets. All those hellish planets, 28 kinds of hellish planets. So Parikshit Maharaj was just sitting there and hearing. So far, he has heard everything so wonderful, nectarian. In the 1st canto, all those pure devotees speaking in Dwaraka about the Lord. And the 2nd canto, creation, Sarga, Visarga, and different dynasties, and all these Bhagavatas having the darshan of the Bhagavan, and the conversation between, the Bhagavan and Bhagavatas. Everything was very nectarian, and continued. First, 2nd canto continued, 3rd canto continued, 4th canto continued, 5th canto continued. It was so nectarian to Parikshit Maharaj. And when he comes to the later half of the 5th canto and happens to hear about these hellish planets, and he thinks, oh my goodness, these hellish planets, where is the description of Bhagavatas and Bhagavan, and where is that bhakti? Where is this hellish planets? How can a jiva is supposed to be? This is the constitutional position of the jiva. To be with Bhagavan, to have those conversations with Bhagavan, to hear from Bhagavan, to get darshan from the Bhagavan. This is where the jiva should be. Alas, how come the jivas, they go to these hellish planets? That is so pitiful. So, Parikshit Maharaj thinks like that. After he hears about the hellish planets and everything, and how the jivas are tortured there, his heart melts. Vaishnava is a para dukkha dukhi. Seeing the pain of other living entities, their heart melts. They get hurt in their heart. Their heart aches. This is how we know our bhakti is getting better. If we are hurting, then others are hurting. As Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in his songs, that's Vaishnava Paradukha Dukhi. So Parikshit Maharaj was feeling like that. Then he asks his Gurudev, his Srila Sukadeva Goswami. He asks, oh, Sukadeva Goswami, you have explained about Nivritti Marga, path of liberation, 2nd canto. After that, you have explained about the Pravritti Marga, 3rd canto. And then you have beautifully explained about these dynasties and these Mahajanas. This is so wonderful. After that, you have explained the Brahmanda also. That is also very nice. But these hellish planets, what about these hellish planets? How can a jiva be rescued from these hellish planets? What can a jiva do? So, this jiva does not end up in hellish planet. Can you please tell me something about that? That is how 5th canto transitions into 6th canto. So now we will go to Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami and hear their conversation. Bringing up at 6th canto, 1st chapter. Yeah, I don't think you are able to see it, right? Not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, yes, yeah. I will share that so we can be with Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. It has been a few weeks, so I forgot about this. I am looking to see how, yes, share the screen. Let's see it here. Yeah. There is our Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. We want to be with them. This is history of Ujjvala. Yes, we are with them. That's Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami. So he's saying, yeah, Nivritti Marga, Pavritti Marga, you have explained it all. Now, can you please, oh, this is so ghastly, right? The hellish condition. So this is why Parikshit Maharaj was asking. So please, can you tell me what can a jiva do so they don't go to these hellish planets? Then Sukadeva Goswami says, in this conversation, Sukadeva Goswami answers this particular question. The question from Parikshit Maharaj is, what can a jiva do? I want to see the exact question. We have discussed this all. Exact question. Sukadeva Goswami is directly coming here. The question of by Parikshit Maharaj is, what can a jiva do so they do not go to the hellish planet? So here, Sukadeva Goswami, he could have answered straight away what the solution is. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that Sukadeva Goswami, he chooses a different route to explain this answer. He tests the understanding of Parikshit Maharaj now, and he slowly gives a little bit of he gives different kinds of answers to see what Parikshit Maharaj has to say. Okay, so the question is, what can a jiva do so they don't end up in the hellish planet? How can the sinful tendency go away? So for that, Sukadeva Goswami, he says, oh, that's simple. Well, jiva commits sins. Then when a person commits sins, then he just have to do the prayaschitta, atonement, committing sin. And if there's sins that are committed, just do the atonement, prayaschitta. If it's a big sin, you just do a big prayaschitta. If it's a small sin, you do a small prayaschitta, atonement. So it's like nullifying. You do something bad, you do some stealing there. To nullify it, you give some charity. Simple. Because your papa is nullified by punya, then you don't go to the hellish planet. That was the first response of Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. Our Parikshit Maharaj, would he buy this answer? He goes, I it doesn't sound like this is the best deal. Because if somebody is committing sin and then doing a prayaschitta and again commit a sin, so he can do a prayaschitta. If this goes on like that, first thing is, there is still a risk that he would go to hell. Because for every sin that he's committing, he may or may not be able to do the prayaschitta. And what if he's leaving the body by that time? He will end up in the hell. So there is no guarantee in this deal. And on top of that, what kind of prayaschitta is this? Prayaschitam. This is Manye Kunjara Sauchavam. This is like elephant taking bath. Prayaschittam athopartam. Manye Kunjara Sauchavam. Elephant taking bath. What kind of bath is this that elephant is taking, huh? It goes into the water, cleans itself so well, and then comes out. As soon as it comes out, it pours all the dirt again on it. Is this really a bath? So, in the same way, Parishit Maharaj is saying, is this really an atonement? Is there any repentance at all? Only to go back and commit the sin again? No, this doesn't look like a sound deal. There is still a risk of going to hell. There's still a risk of that person going to hell. So please, Guruvarya, please give me a better answer. This does not satisfy me. Because, first of all, there is a risk that the person would end up in the hell. And second thing is, though he is doing the atonement, he still has the desire to continue to commit the sin. And this is not safe. So please, give the second best answer, please. Give me the next best answer, please. Then Sukadeva Goswami says, oh, okay. You didn't buy that, right? And he was happy that Parikshit Maharaj did not buy that answer. So the second answer Sukadeva Goswami gives is, it's like this. You are right. The prayaschitam or atonement does not completely burn the sin, does not completely neutralize. The sin should be burnt. And what can burn the sin is the knowledge, jnana. And whatever a person should do to acquire that knowledge, that should be done. The person should be in the mode of goodness. They should do tapasya. They should be very disciplined. They can do the charity. They can do the sacrifices. In that way, they can stay away from sense gratification and continue to get the jnana. So with the combination of staying away from the sense gratification by sacrifices, by charity, and by getting knowledge, with this, the person would know what is punya, what is papa. By knowledge, he would know, oh, this is punya, this is papa, right? And by staying away from sense gratification and sacrifices and charity, etc., then he's restraining himself from committing any sin. So this is better. And this is like Venu Ulbanam, the bamboo fire. You see here, right? The forest fire, the fire of the bamboos. When there is a fire in the bamboo forest, Venu Gulbanam Avanilam. When there is a fire in the bamboo forest, and there are some leaves, dried leaves. If you have seen in the pictures or somehow, there are dry leaves generally that lay on the bed of the forest bed, right? So when there is forest fire, all the trees, the trees get burnt, and also the leaves on the forest bed, they get burnt, right? So jnana is like that. It can burn away all the sins, like the forest fire can burn away all the leaves that are present on the forest bed. He says that. But after that, he says, but the roots of these trees are still under the ground, right? So that part is untouched. So when the forest fire is there, everything is burnt. There are no trees. But when it rains hard again, whatever roots that are still there underground, those roots, then the bamboo shoots start to come out from the roots. Since the roots are still present under the ground, the trees would come from the roots. Like that, in the jnana, though a person has knowledge of what to do and what not to do, papa and punya, and he restrains himself from doing the papa, in this way, he tries hard not to commit sin. The sin is not happening. But even though that person has knowledge, jnana, even though he's restraining not to commit any sin, the tendency to sin is still there in this person who is just with the jnana. Like the tendency to sprout from the roots, the tendency of the shoots coming out from the roots, even after the forest fire, is there in the person also, even if they're filled with the jnana, trying to restrain the senses. When it gets challenging, and when they're pressed, or when the situation is very favorable, when the modes hit hard, then they would commit sin. They would succumb to the sense gratification. It's very much possible, right? Like that, jnana can help not to commit sins, but sinful tendency is still there. So Parikshit Maharaj, he quietly hears this second answer too. Not completely satisfied. Our Parikshit Maharaj is not totally satisfied yet, because sinful tendency is still there, though there is jnana. And there are examples here, right? Patanti, Vevidas Patana Chetasaha. Here, Yena Anya Aravinda Man. So here, it's described that those jnanis who try to merge in the Brahman, they will fall back again. They think they have achieved liberation. Those people that think they have achieved liberation, they fall back again, because they did not get the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Hari. Because they did not get the shelter of a lotus feet of Lord Hari. So even when there is jnana, if they are not sheltered in the seva, then the sense gratification, there will be a possibility for sense gratification. They will fall down. That's one thing. And also in the charita of this, Saubhari Muni, he is a mystic yogi, does the tapasya for thousands of years under the water, and he was he knows this siddhas also, anima, garima, and then becoming small and big like that. So Saubhari Muni, under the water, he did the tapasya. But what happened? When he saw just two fishes coming together to mate, finish, he lost his sense control. So the tendency to enjoy is still there, even in that yogi who had that jnana and who had this mystic powers. But that tendency made him fall down. So he had to come out of the water, and he married the daughters of Mandata like that. And he had to take up the devotional service, bhakti, to burn this tendency of committing sin. So only bhakti can burn it. So in that case, the Shaubhari Muni, the Ashtanga Yoga did not help. For Vishwamitra, whatever yoga, that did not help. When he heard the tinkle bells of Menaka, everything was gone. Like that. So just the knowledge is not helpful because the sinning tendency is still present. Okay. And then now, finally, Sukadeva Goswami then comes to the real answer. He looks at Parikshit Maharaj. He gave those two answers. Now he's saying the last one. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agham dunvanti kasnena niharam iva bhaskaraha. This is the answer. For the question you have asked, what will save a jiva from going to hell? It is Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha. The bhakti of Vasudeva. And the shelter of Vasudeva. Vasudeva Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaya. The shelter of Vasudeva that is obtained in the bhakti, that will burn away. That will burn away all the sins completely. How? Agham dunvanti katsnena. Agham, sin. Dunvanti. Dunvanti is burning. Katsnena, completely. All the sins are completely burnt by Kechit Kevalaya. Kechit, little bit of Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana. The bhakti of Vasudeva. How are those sins burnt? Like this. Niharam iva bhaskaraha. Niharam, the fog, iva bhaskara, when the sun is rising. So early in the morning, just with the first rays of the sun itself, the fog gets cut through and then dissipates like that. And very soon as the sun rises, there is no more fog. Completely destroyed. As the fog is completely dissipated and destroyed by the rising sun, all the sins are completely destroyed. Like in this case, completely with the roots. Unlike the jnana, completely destroyed with the roots when one takes up the process of Kevalaya Bhaktya of Vasudeva. This thing, Parikshit Maharaj, he was very happy with this answer. And this is some information from Jiva Goswami's. I think this is Bhakti Sandarbha. There is a little more details of Bhakti. But the reason this slide was put in is Kechit, even a little bit. Bhakti is done continuously when it is Shuddha, non-stop spontaneous Bhakti. That is very wonderful. But before that, Bhakti is not Shuddha yet. It's not continuous yet. Intermittent, here and there, here and there. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya. Even when the bhakti is intermittent, a little bit here and there, little bit here and there, when there is a moment, even a slightest glimpse of bhakti, like we discussed, right? When we chant the japa, even if the droplet experience of nama bhasa, that itself can really burn the sense, in the sense, the waves of sense gratification, to burn the effect of modes. So the point here is kechit, even a slightest of it, a slightest of bhakti has that capacity to burn the sins completely, like that. So that's the answer. Bhakti is the answer. Now that he gave the answer of what can save a jiva from going to hell. If a jiva takes up the process of bhakti, then their sins are completely destroyed, and in that way, jiva is saved from going to hell. Bhakti, saving from going to hell is such a by default action, right? Bhakti can actually take us to the Vaikuntha, to the Goloka. So not going to hell is a simple byproduct. But that was the answer to the question. Bhakti is what saves the jiva from not going to hell. And on that note, he says how to practice bhakti. This I took the shloka. I wanted to say exact the Sanskrit words because it is not just simply taking shelter of the Vaishnavas. It says, when you take shelter of those devotees who take shelter of Bhagavan, like that. So you take shelter of Bhagavan through the devotees who has taken shelter of Bhagavan. That's how you start the bhakti process and do the bhakti. Yeah, and in that kind of bhakti, he's explaining here. What is that kind of bhakti? Sakranmana Krishna Padara Vindayo Niveshitam Tat Gunaragiyeriha Nateyamam Pashapratascha Tat Bhatam Nateyamam Pashapratascha Tat Bhatam Swapnepi Pashyantihi Chirna Nishkritaha. When the bhakti is done like that, what is bhakti, dear devotees? This is beautiful. This is the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam. It really nails down what bhakti means. Manah Krishna Padara Vindayor. When the Manasu is not exactly mind or heart, is Krishna Padara Vindayor. When our heart is in the smarana of Krishna Pada Aravinda, lotus feet of Lord Hari. Niveshitam tad guna raga eriha. Niveshitam, completely taken shelter. Tad guna ragi. Ragi, attachment. To what? Guna. Guna of Bhagavan. That is bhakti. This is the Bhagavatam definition of bhakti. Manah Krishna Padara Vindayor Niveshitam tad guna ragi eriha. So, when one practices bhakti like that, sakran, even a little bit, nate yamam pasha bhritascha tad bhat, nate yamam pasha bhritascha tad bhatan. Yama pasha bhritas, Yamaraj, pasha bhritas tad bhatan. The Yama bhatas, the soldiers, Yamaraj soldiers and their noose, that will not be swapnepi pashyanti. Yamarajas, the messengers of the Yamarajas with their noose are not seen even in the dream. When does that happen? When somebody does Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor Niveshitam Tadguna Ragihi. Sakran, even a little bit. So that is our hope, dear devotees. We may not be Shuddha Bhaktas, but Sakran, since we sincerely try to do our best in bhakti, Manah Krishna Padara Vindayor, thinking of the Lord and the lotus feet of Lord, the Harinama and the Seva, everything is the same on the platform of Vishuddha Sattva. The Smarana of the Lord, the lotus feet of the Lord, the Nama of the Lord, the Seva of the Lord, everything is the same. So when we are doing even a little bit of bhakti like that, then the Yamadhutas, they will not even come in our dream. In other words, we will be far from the hellish planets. So after explaining that bhakti is the one that completely destroys the sin, like the sunshine destroying the fog, Sukadeva Goswami is explaining this is how you do the bhakti. You take the shelter of a bhakta who is sheltered in the Bhagavan, and then do the bhakti then there is no worries about going to hell. Then what? We think that Sakrit Mana Krishna Padaravindayo. When the Manasu is in the Krishna Padaravinda, who is thinking of hell? Hell will be too far anyway. But the devotee would be Krishna Padaravindayo. He will go where the lotus feet of Lord Hari is, to the Vaikuntha world. Yeah. So bhakti is not just to get rid of the hellish planets. That will happen anyway. I mean, liberation itself happens as a byproduct. What to speak of going far from the hellish planets? Bhakti is so superior. So there's an answer to the question of Parikshit Maharaj. How can one be saved from this hellish planets? Complete answer is by bhakti. Okay. And now on that note, he gives this Katha of Ajamila. He says, see, Sakrat, even a little bit. I will tell you this story. There was a person by name Ajamila, and he lived in this Kanya Kumcha. I think that's the name of the city. And he was a good Brahmana, very learned, and he was doing all his duties as a Brahmana well. He was serving his parents well. He was well learned with the scriptures. All was well with him. But one day, as he was passing through the forest, he saw a man with a prostitute in the forest. So when he saw that intimate dealings in this public place, this Brahmana, when he saw that, then he was agitated. Okay. And when he saw that, because he was a Brahmana and he also knew the Jnana part, he had the Jnana too. What is to be done? What is not to be done? What is sin? What is not sin? He knows it very well. But just the Jnana was not enough here in this case. After he saw that scene in the forest, then he started thinking about it so much, and he started thinking about the prostitute so much that he left his chaste wife, stopped the service to his parents. He came out of the house. He married this prostitute, and then his occupation. He married this prostitute, and he was eating whatever was cooked by this prostitute, and then he was totally changed. This is why cooking part, whatever the consciousness is, that generally goes into the cooking, and when we eat that consciousness come to us. We try to do so much of bhakti to get rid of the modes, and when we go out and eat something again, alas, all those modes can come back again. So that is something about the cooking part. So this Ajamila, so his consciousness was all changed, and he started robbing people, killing people, and then gradually that has become his occupation. In that way, he lived all his life until he was 88 years old. He had about 10 sons. The smallest son, the youngest one, was about 3 years old, something like that. So look at that. He was 88 years old, but his youngest son was about 3 years old. Look at that sense gratification, lust. He was that much entangled. And then the time to leave the body has come. The death has approached. So when the death approached, what happened? By this time we have heard about Ajamila, right? Though he was a good Brahmana, whatever sins he has committed so far, and now the moment of death has come, And because he has committed sins with his mind, body, and words, yeah, 3 Yamadutas came there. Manasa, Vacha, Karma. He has committed the Papa. Yeah, that's why the Yamabhatas came. 3 Yamadutas came. And they were trying to snatch his soul out of the heart. This is near-death experience, dear devotees. There's a book also on this particular aspect in Bhagavata, near-death experience. So these Yamadutas, they were trying to snatch the soul out of Ajamila. And he was, he is lying down on the bed. This is all happening subconsciously, right? The person would not be so awake and see the Yamadutas. It's not like that. So at the time of death, the eyes are closed and he was not moving at all. But this was happening inside. The Yamadutas came and the soul could see the Yamadutas. And they were trying to snatch the soul out of the heart. And then he called Narayana. Why did he call like that? Because his younger son, Narayana, he named him Narayana. That little boy was playing at a distance from where he was sleeping. And he was so attached to that little boy, Narayana. Yeah. So all the time he was calling, Narayana, come here, eat this, do that, Narayana, come here, Narayana. So that Narayana word was coming. Though he was calling his son, unconsciously that Narayana, utterance of the word Narayana was happening. And at the time of the death also, he was so attached to his son, the son was playing there. And that's why when the Yamadutas came also, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan tyajatte ante kalevaram. He was thinking of his son Narayana the whole life. He was so attached with everything material. And at the end of, when his last son was born, he got so attached with his son. He has been the world. So he was thinking of that son who is named Narayana. Even at the time of the death, when the Yamadutas were trying to pull the soul out, because he was attached to his son so much, he was calling his son that was playing at a distance and uttered Narayana. So, dear devotees, what happened here? This particular Jiva, who is the son, is playing at a distance. Ajamila meant to call the Jiva, but uttered the word Narayana. The word Nama Narayana is Narayana himself. Right? The Lord always wants to see how he can help and rescue his devotees. The Nama is so merciful. The Lord is thinking, okay, fine, he may be calling the Jiva, but still he's calling me, he has uttered my name. Yeah, the Nama is that merciful. Though we don't intend to call the Lord, but if the Nama is uttered, then the Lord says, that's fine, he uttered me. So as soon as he uttered that name, Narayana, 4 Vishnudutas came. Na, Ra, Ya, Na. 4 Vishnudutas came. Yeah. And then he saw these 4 Vishnudutas. These 4 Vishnudutas, they're questioning these Yamadutas. And Ajamila is on the bed, dear devotees. Nobody would be knowing what's happening within him inside, right? Because he's about to leave his body, dying. But this is all happening, and Ajamila is seeing, the soul is seeing this. There are these Yamadutas, trying to very painfully snatch his soul out. And then comes all of a sudden this effulgent 4 Vishnudutas as soon as he uttered Narayana. And now the conversation is happening with this Vishnudutas. and Yamadutas. Vishnudutas are saying, Vishnudutas did not allow these Yamadutas to snatch the soul out. So the Yamadutas are saying, who are you? You are all very effulgent. Who are you? Why are you trying to block us from doing our duty? You seem to be so effulgent and beautiful and very proper, but you are blocking us from doing our duty. Who are you? The Yamadutas were asking. Then the Vishnudutas were saying, wait a minute. Did you just say that you were doing your duty, your dharma? Do you know what dharma means? Do you know what adharma means? Do you know how to punish people? Who to punish people? This is what Vishnudutas were questioning the Yamadutas. So the conversation started like that between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas. So that's the start of the conversation. We will see what the conversation is next week. So Ajmila is still there. He's watching the conversation. He's hearing the conversation. So the rest of the conversation we will hear next week, dear devotees. But 2 points here in this case. What happened? How come 4 Vishnudutas came to this sinful Ajamila? He's really sinful, right? For whatever he has done. He has, what did he do? Here is a list of what he has done. He has abandoned his family and many things. Yeah, he has abandoned, lost all good qualities. He has abandoned his parents, his chaste wife. He abandoned all his duties and he married this prostitute and he took up this this sinful occupation of killing people, robbing people. So what is it that he did not do? Very sinful. Even though he was sinful like that Ajamila, when he said Narayana, even though he was sinful, even though he was intending to call his son, but not Lord Narayana, even then 4 Vishnudutas came. What does that mean? Here, Ajamila, when he said Narayana, this is his consciousness when he uttered that word Narayana was desperate, because these Yamadutas are here and they are snatching his soul away. He was desperate. That desperate thing, yeah, that's the quality when we call desperation. Yearning of the soul is desperation. So this quality, when it arises in the soul, desperation, yearning, that's one quality that has happened in Ajamila. Though he was sinful, yes, he was sinful, but second thing was, he was sinful, but he did not do aparadha. Now, what is this? Sin is different from aparadha. Here, Ajamila did not do bhakti. First of all, he was doing sins. Yeah. So, if somebody is using bhakti or Bhagavan and use that strength to commit sin, that is aparadha. If you remember, dear devotees, this is one of the Nam Aparadhas. Committing sin on the strength of the holy name. What does that mean? See, we are all doing bhakti, right? We are trying to do whatever we can. But if anybody is doing bhakti with this intention, okay, I'm going to chant, I will do this service, I will do this bhakti, and when I get this power and when I get this position, and then I will show that devotee, and then I'll show that person what I am. So harboring that kind of agenda, and using bhakti to meet a personal agenda, that is aparadha. It is abusing bhakti. Abusing bhakti to gain for one's own personal motives. That is aparadha. It means we are using Bhagavan for our personal motive. We are using bhakti for our personal motive. So if somebody is voluntarily doing like that, okay, I will do this, I will take the nama, or I'll do the bhakti, and then I will pursue all the desires that I have. So if somebody has that kind of intention and does the bhakti like that, that is an aparadha. Ajamila did not do that. He was committing sin, but there was no aparadha. So that's one thing. He was sinful, but he did not do aparadha. And the second thing is, though he was not calling Narayana directly, he meant to call his son, but the utterance of the word Narayana was desperate. So this desperate utterance of the word is nama bhasa. Means so desperate, Ajamala did not have any thought of the future, any thought of the past. There were no thoughts, just desperately those words Narayana. So that is Namabhasa. Namabhasa can give liberation. Liberation from the modes. Liberation means mukti. Mukti is of 5 types. Sayujya mukti, sarshti, Sayujya mukti, Salokya mukti, Sarupya mukti, Samipya mukti. So all these 4 Vishnudutas came. So Ajamila, by uttering Lord's name with that desperateness, he was qualified for mukti. That is the power of the nama. Though one is sinful, when there is that feeling of desperate from within, Krishna, I need help. I am unable to do this on my own. I want to be with you, Krishna. Please engage me in your service. The desperate yani. That will take us to Namabhasa. It's not about how much sins we have done, but how desperate are we. Yeah? So the Nama has that power to agam danvantika sneya, to destroy all the sins. So that is Namabhasa, and that's why Namabhasa means Namabhasa can give liberation. Liberation, as we said, is of 5 types. So the 4 Vishnudutas came there. So if that's how Ajamila has qualified himself for liberation, just by uttering that Namabhasa. Qualified only. It was only one utterance. Not that he went back to Godhead just with that. It just gave him a glimpse of the glory of the whole. Yeah, we will hear further discussions later, but I just wanted to mention about that Namabhasa. And here is something that I think that will come a little later. Yeah, we have talked about Namabhasa, and there's a little piece of information here. What happens when there is lust? When there is kama vasana, lust, what happens? Lust can be on a person or on a thing, anything external. But here, when there is a lust on a person, so the eyes fixed on the person, and the mind gets fixed on the person. Yeah, intense attachment. on that person. All these movies, unfortunate thing is they are so glamorized and shown in the movies. Something that needs to be avoided is shown as something that is applauded on the big screen. That's the unfortunate situation that we have right now. But so intense attachment about that person, and then determination to get that person, and they lose sleep over that person. They become emaciated, and they become shameless in expressing how much they are attached to that person, and they become mad after that person, and they become stunned, and finally they die for that person. Does it remind anything, dear devotees? Very unfortunately, this is the theme of the so-called heroes and heroines of these movies nowadays, right? Yeah, this is the unfortunate cascade of lust. And the same thing when it is reposed on Bhagavan, that is the most fortunate thing. This is the same thing that the gopis has on Bhagavan. We are trying to do the same for Krishna. Look at the Vigraha, Sri Murti of Krishna. Eyes on the Lord, mind on the Lord, determination to be with the Lord. Sleep is secondary. We want to do the seva of the Lord. So much of seva, and so much of we are mad after him. We want him and we don't care. This is the status of bhava. And then there is no death in case of gopis, because they're all spiritual personalities. But look at this. Isn't that fascinating? The same mechanism that comes out of a jiva, when it is placed on a temporary object or a person of this material world, that will be an entanglement leading to death. But the same thing when it is reposed on Bhagavan, that will be back home, back to Godhead. So it's just the object of our attachment and contemplation needs to be shifted to the eternal one. So that's the point here. Just wanted to bring it to your attention. That's all, dear devotees. For this week, that's all. Next week, we will hear what the conversation of Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas are. So to quickly summarize, what we have heard today is, first of all, how the words of the Shuddha Bhaktas are like oxygen and gives us the life. That's what we have heard. And after that, Bhagavatam, how 6th canto is the portioner that we have heard. And the portion of 6th canto was divided into 4, right? Ajamilas, Indras, Chitraketus, and Dikis. And today we are hearing about the Ajamila. And then after that, we have heard the connection of the 5th canto to 6th canto. How Parikshit Maharaj said, okay, you have said about everything, very wonderful. This hellish planets thing is really bothering me. How can somebody escape this hellish planets? Can you please tell what can save a jiva from going to hell? And as an answer to that question, Sukadeva Goswami first says, okay, just do the atonement thing. Parikshit Maharaj did not buy that one. And then the next answer was, okay, burn it with jnana, but the burning is not complete because the roots are there still underneath. So the third and the complete answer is Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva. The bhakti will burn the sins completely. And how to do the bhakti? Take the shelter of a Bhagavata and do bhakti. And in this way, Sakrat Krishna Manah Padaravindayo, when the bhakti is practiced like that, with the manas on the Krishna Padaravindayo, then they don't have to even dream about the Yamadutas, what to speak of going to the hellish planets. In this way, bhakti is superior and then can burn all the sins completely. And I'm telling you a story now, how the sins are totally burned completely, even though this person, Ajamila, is so sinful. See how the sins are burned completely, even though when he is trying to utter the name, not directly addressing Narayana. So this is the power of bhakti. This is the power of the nama, that it can totally burn the sins away. In that way, we have heard we started hearing the Charita of Ajamila and the discussion. On that note, we have heard about the Nama Bhasa. If the Nama Bhasa itself is so powerful that it qualifies one to liberation, what to speak of here the Nama Bhasa is unintentional. What to speak of the Nama when we are doing it intentional. So that and the conversation between the Yamadutas and Vishnudutas, we will hear it in the next Katha.